Part 2, ways to acknowledge appropriate behavior. As we mentioned in Part 1, reinforcement is defined as any consequence that increases the probability of a behavior occurring. Reinforcement is the most important consequence, not punishment, because research and practice show that it is far more useful and positive to try to increase the right behaviors than to try to decrease the wrong behaviors. Think about that for a minute. Wouldn't you rather have your supervisor focus on what you do right rather than on what you do wrong? If they point out what you do right, you are more likely to feel good about what you've done and want to do it more and consistently. And you're more likely to feel good about your supervisor and your environment as a whole. That exact same scenario is true for our students. If we focus on what they do right, they are more likely to continue doing that behavior, and they are more likely to feel good about their teachers, paraprofessionals, and the school environment as a whole. When we think about reinforcing appropriate behavior, we first have to understand what type of items and activities a student prefers. We can't assume that all students will find the same things reinforcing, or that they will be reinforced by the same things we enjoy. Thinking back to our Bob, who was shown in our first module, that student found going for a walk to be reinforcing. Other students might not find a walk around the school to be a preferred activity. So when determining what types of activities and items a student prefers, think about the following questions. What makes the learner smile and laugh? What makes the learner happy and feel good? What kind of things get the learner excited? What are the learner's favorite things to do? What does the learner work especially hard at doing? What gets and keeps the learner's attention? What gets the learner to try new things? Also, it's important to remember that learners' preferences can change over time. Teachers and staff members should periodically survey students to find out what their preferred materials, peers, and activities are. It's also a good idea to have a variety of activities and items to choose from. Asking parents for feedback about preferred items is also a great way to learn more about the student. When thinking about reinforcement, the idea of offering choices is also important. Generally, 2 or more choices are provided depending upon the developmental ability of the learner. Choice making is also a great way to teach language and communication skills. For example, if a student is reinforced by extra recess time and extra time playing an educational game on their iPad, you can offer the student a choice of which activity they would like to do that day. One of the most universal and easiest ways to acknowledge appropriate behavior is praise. Praise is defined as any verbal or nonverbal action that indicates approval or satisfaction with a student behavior. Teachers and paraprofessionals who use praise improve the classroom atmosphere while also reducing behavior disruptions. Examples of praise include, "That's good working. I appreciate your time on task. You should feel proud of yourself for your effort." When interacting with students, you are in a great position to deliver what we call specific praise. Let's review the 3 steps for delivering specific praise. 1, state the student's name. 2, give a praise statement. 3, describe the specific, observable, and measurable behavior. Remember from part 1, all behaviors should be observable and measurable. Think to yourself, can you see the behavior? Can you hear the behavior? Here's an example. "Bob, you did a great job walking in the hallway." Here are a few more examples of ways to give specific praise. "Kay, it was excellent that you finished all of your work." "Alex, it was wonderful how you kept your hands and your feet to yourself in the hallway today." "Mary, great job staying in your seat the whole period. You should be proud of yourself for the effort." When thinking about reinforcement and praise, also consider different forms of nonverbal reinforcement. Here are a few examples: nods, smiles, thumbs up, pats on the back, high fives. Please note that this type of reinforcement works best when it is given as soon as possible following the appropriate behavior. Another idea to consider is how often you are acknowledging appropriate behaviors. The best practice is to offer acknowledgement as much as possible. Minimally, you should use a ratio of 4:1. That means 4 positive statements for every 1 general or negative statement. The idea here is to simply catch the kids being good. On the screen, you can see some examples of acknowledgement. Great job solving the problem by talking. I love seeing those hands raised. I'm thrilled that you arrived on time. Pointing out all of the things that students are doing correctly reinforces those behaviors and makes them more likely to occur again. Also, giving less attention to those negative behaviors means that we are not reinforcing those behaviors, and thus we are not increasing the likelihood that they will rise or stay the same in frequency. Reinforcement means the most to students when it is being delivered by someone they have an established relationship with. A positive relationship sets the groundwork for all of the other strategies mentioned in this part of the module. Building rapport with students is an essential piece of acknowledging positive behavior. Many times, the rapport itself is the intervention that will take care of whatever behavior problems are occurring. Here's some things to think about when building a positive relationship. Invest time to get to know the student. Ask them about their family, friends, and interests. If they play a sport, remember to ask them how their team is doing. Find out if they have a favorite movie or a song. Talk to them about their hobbies, like playing video games or skateboarding. Students are more likely to listen and respond to rules and requests if they know their interactions will be positive. Let's now look at a brief video of a teacher who has made it his mission to build positive relationships with his students.
You, sir, are an amazing student. You're very funny, you're very smart, you do a great job every day, and you make everyone laugh because you're so silly.
Special education teacher Chris Ulmer starts each morning a little different than most educators. He takes the time to compliment each and every one of his students at Mainspring Academy in Jacksonville, Florida.
I think you are a brilliant student. I love having you in my class. You're awesome, you're great, you're funny, you're silly, you're fast, you're strong, you're athletic.
Yeah.
You're a great soccer player.
I know.
You're very smart.
Yes.
You've been doing a great job reading.
In just a few days, the video has been shared over 20,000 times and has been viewed by over 1 million people. Chris creates videos to help spread acceptance for his students and shows the unique ways he teaches.
Do you want to be friends with everyone?
Yeah.
Does it matter what color they are?
He's had the same group of kids for the last 3 years, and he has seen changes in the students' behavior and progress.
If you want to play your book and you don't know where to look, just ask for a little help. If it's dark and scary, grab your Uncle Matty and ask for a little help.
Be sure to watch Inside Edition.
This ends part 2. Please complete the questions before moving on to the next section.